You got to tell people where you're at, what you're doing. So what that does is it puts you in a position where you're putting yourself out there for people to basically get your information, get your location, all of that stuff. So the other thing is that in real estate we deal with a large amount of money and it's that are involved with real estate transactions. For some of these fraudsters and the people are trying to hack and capture these wires and things like that, we're talking like 100,000, 200, $300,000 payout. So it's a very lucrative venture for them. They don't have to hit a home run every time. They hit one every year and they're good to go. So we put our public information out to the public, personal information, and also we deal with others' personal information. And this was what really prompted me to create this class, not only because I saw the need for it, but there's just so much of this that goes on. And I can almost guarantee that every single person on this call right now has been subject of some sort of fraudulent or hacking, or they know somebody who has. And some of it can get really, really bad. So we just want to make sure that we give you some tools to avoid some of the bad stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and play this video here. So just kind of sit back and watch the video. I thought this was a really good example of how prevalent this could be. So go ahead, sit back, grab your coffee, and we'll just watch a few minutes of this video here.
Hackers are everywhere. From Ashley Madison to JP Morgan, from Jennifer Lawrence to the federal government. Our biggest celebrities, corporations, and institutions have all been the targets of devastating cyber attacks. I wanted to see how bad a hack can get. So I invited a few of the world's best hackers to try to hack me and show me where my vulnerabilities are. And now I'm going to meet them in Las Vegas at DEF CON, biggest hacker convention of the year, and see what they found. This might not have been the best idea. DEF CON is the biggest hacker convention of the year. It's a place where thousands of hackers come to hear talks to demonstrate their newest hacks. It's actually a place that's so dangerous to be on the internet that they tell you to turn off the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth on your phone. And they tell you not to use the ATMs too, because those could be hacked as well. This is the DEF CON ballroom. It's sort of the main room where things are happening. And it's pretty wild. I think this is car hacking village. This car is locked. Can you get me in?
I'll unlock it for you. Should be good.
Hacking is no longer like this fringe activity. And if you are at DEF CON, there's a good chance that you're here because you want to learn what could happen to you or your company.
Anyone here first time in the SCCTF? The crowd.
I invited Chris to hack me with his team, but they're going to hack me using social engineering, which is essentially hacking without any code. They just use a phone and an internet connection.
We help people with human security issues by testing vulnerabilities for like a network test, but it's for the people network. We test those vulnerabilities, see where the holes are, and then help people learn so they can patch them.
Can we try some of this? Can we try some?
Yeah,
see if it works.
We probably could have our star visher here make some phone calls as
Let's do it.
Sure. Do you want to do a sample phishing call?
What's phishing?
Phishing is voice elicitation. And basically, what you do is you use the phone to extract information or data points that can be used in a later attack.
Let's do it. Who are you going to call?
Maybe I'll call your cell phone provider
Okay.
and see if I can get them to give me your email address.
I bet they're good. I bet they have my back. But yeah, go for it.
I'm going to spoof from your number, so it's going to look like it's calling from you.
Okay.
Hi, I'm so sorry. Can you hear me okay? My baby, I'm sorry. My husband's like, we're about to apply for a loan and we just had a baby and he's like, get this done by today. So I'm so sorry. I can't call you back. I'm trying to log into our account for uses information and I can't remember what email address we used to log the account. The baby's crying and can you help me? Awesome.
In just 30 seconds,
Mail.com.
Jessica gets my personal email address.
Now, if I needed to add our daughter on our account so she could call in and make changes, how would I need to go about doing that? You would have to send me a secure PIN through a text message. Yeah. Well, the thing is, I don't think I'll be able to receive a text message if I'm on the phone. Shh. Oh, I'm not on there either. So I thought when we got married, he added me to the account. Okay, my name
Jessica uses my girlfriend's name and a fake social security number
is 5127.
to set up her own personal access to my account.
Wait, I'm sorry. So there's no password on my account right now. Can I set that up?
She even gets the support person to change my password.
So much for your help today.
So she just
Nope,
basically
that's-
blocked me out of my own account.
I'll get her fed after this. All right. Thank you.
Holy shit. So they just gave you access to my entire cell phone account.
You're gonna have to go on and change your password now because it's Jess, my name.
And all it took was a crying baby and a phone call.
Yes.
I really thought that my cell phone company would protect me. I mean, like, this is the most basic stuff, and they're not doing it. And if they're not doing it, you know, all these other businesses aren't doing it either. Anyone with a phone and an internet connection can do social engineering. But I was curious, what can a hacker with serious coding skills do?
Well, DEF CON is the world's biggest hacking convention. It's hacking everything, hacking social, hacking hardware, hacking software, hacking various systems.
I asked Dan Tentler, a well-known security researcher, to turn all of his firepower on me.
I did get into quite a number of things that I found.
So what were the first things you did? How did you start hacking me?
I quickly found your Squarespace blog and had an idea. Basically, what I did was created a bogus Squarespace site and sent an email to you, a fish asking you to go to this website, run this certificate installer.
And I did it because
Yeah.
I'm an idiot.
So once you ran that, it gave me access to your computer, and I created several fake pop-ups that looked like system pop-ups that would ask you for your credentials.
You didn't even have to have my passwords.
No, you gave them to me.
I gave them to you.
Yeah. So I stole your 1Password keychain.
And 1Password is where I store all my other passwords. So effectively by
your social security number and your Amex stuff and all your stock trading and bank information. I can send email to everyone in this room as you. I am you right now if I wanted to be. If my evilness is working correctly, it should actually be taking pictures of your desktop and pictures through your webcam every 2 minutes. And I have been watching you for about 2 days now. In
Oh my
coffee
God.
shops, at your mom's house, on a plane. Here's your editing stuff. There's you like.
oh my God.
looking
So
there.
this is literally
every 2 minutes.
through my webcam.
Yeah, through this guy.
How badly could you have messed up my life?
I could have made you homeless. I could have made you homeless and penniless.
How?
Like,
How would you make me homeless?
like I have control of your digital life in its entirety. I have all your credentials. I have all your access to all your financial information, all your work information, all your personal information. I can pay people with your bank account or your Amex account. I am you. I can fully impersonate. Like, the only thing I couldn't doctor would be like your fingerprints.
This is like as bad as it gets.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, it's bad.
So it turns out that Dan Tentler is very good at his job. I mean, he hacked the hell out of me. He got everything. I mean, frankly, I want to take my computer and throw it into the deepest part of the ocean. And I want to become a hermit. And I want to never touch a piece of technology again. Because holy shit, that was everything. That was the keys to my entire life. And he just pulled them out of his pocket.
So as you can see, this issue can get really, really bad.
Hackers-
most of us are have a pretty large online presence when it comes to our financials. I'm sure 80% of the people on the call have an app on their phone that has all their financials, all their credit card, banking information, and things are not moving in the direction in regards to moving away from technology. So I have some the volume dropped, it says. Let's see. Can you guys hear me okay? How about now? You can hear me just fine. Okay. You can also turn up the volume on your own device too. That could help as well. Let me know if it's an issue though. So this can be a big problem, and just in that video was done almost 10 years ago. So now things have just been augmented with the invention of AI, deep fakes, all of these different things that are part of our culture, a part of where technology is going. And so it's becoming a really large issue, and it has been. Every second, the average mortgage on a house for 2 years is stolen from somebody. And every 2 seconds, groceries for the average family for 8 years is taken. Every 3 seconds, college fees for an entire year are taken from people with breaches and things of that nature. So let's see here. So approximately 1.9 billion was lost due to real estate and rental fraud in the United States in 2024. Real estate transactions are distracted by fraud 70% more often compared to other industries. So our industry is a target mainly because of some of the things that we talked about earlier. We are targets because we put ourselves out there. And two, there's a lot of money involved with these transactions. So the payout is pretty big for the people, for the fraudsters. So in 2024, real estate fraud, particularly wire fraud, was on the rise, with 1 in 20 Americans involved in home transactions experiencing some form of fraud and mediation losses exceeding $70,000. In 2024, mortgage fraud risks saw an increase as well. CoreLogic's report indicated that 1 in 123 mortgage applications show indications of fraud in the second quarter, an 8.3% increase year over year. Over 149 million was lost to real estate scams in 2024, up from 56 million in 2023. So the trend is not going down with a lot of this stuff. So mortgage fraud accounted for more than 30 billion in losses from US financial institutions in 2020. So approximately 30% of all cyber attacks are directed towards real estate transactions. According to an IC3 report, wire fraud in real estate transactions increased over 1,100% from 2023 to 2024. According to the FBI, 13% of all fraud cases in 2024 were related to real estate and rental. Real estate Ponzi schemes lead 2 billion in lawsuit filings across the US. So it's hard to prevent data breaches. So we're kind of shifting from, this is all related to fraud. This is more geared towards data breaches, which is, a part of that. It's not so much the wire fraud, but this is things that we can do to protect our businesses. Whether you have an office or you're just a lone wolf out there doing your business. So this is more geared towards that. In 2024, data breaches saw a surge with global average cost reaching 4.88 million, a 10% increase from the previous year, and over 5.5 billion accounts compromised, a nearly eightfold increase. As far as the global impact, the average cost of a data breach, it struck an all-time high in 2024 to 4.88 million. Breached accounts, the total number of compromised accounts surged over 5.5 billion, marking nearly an eightfold increase from the previous year. And this is just kind of a PSA really quickly. Just if you don't have your credit frozen, I would encourage everybody on the call to freeze their credit. Now, all of we're talking about being, dependent on technology and all that. Well, all the credit companies have an app that you can use to freeze your credit. All you do, you click a little button, it freezes it, unfreezes it. And the thing about, and we're going to go into more detail about this, but the thing about apps in our phones is that it's actually pretty safe these days because they use a biometric ways to open these apps, like the face recognition, things like that are things that are not easily able to be replicated like a password or something like that. So the biometrics are going to be by far the best way to protect yourself. So I would encourage everyone to freeze your credit because that way no one can take stuff out in your name and all that stuff. So, publicly reported breaches, about 66,670 publicly reported breaches in 2024, responsible for the exposure of about 16.8 billion. Let me just silence that. Records exposed during the third quarter of 2024 Data breaches expose more than 422 million records worldwide. In 2024, there were 14 data breaches involving more than 1 million healthcare records, excluding the biggest healthcare data breaches of all time, affecting an estimate of 190 million individuals. You know, hospitals are a big target as well because there is so much data and information stored within the hospital records. So business email compromise surge. So business email compromise dominates cybercrime losses, and that's exactly what that fellow went through on the YouTube video. Is that guy created a bogus email that for a site that the person, the victim, basically frequents a lot, his Squarespace blog. So he made an email that looked exactly like the Squarespace blog. It looked very official. He clicked on the link, and all of a sudden, you know, all the software is being installed on his computer, and now he's getting monitored and he's got all his passwords compromised, all of that stuff. That's business email compromise. And that becomes a big deal, especially for those of you who are managing brokers. You know, one of our biggest risks as business owners could be our employees. Because they're not trained or they lack awareness, you know, or they're rushed, or, you know, and we'll go into a lot of that later. At the end of the day, we are human, so we are susceptible to certain tactics that these fraudsters employ. For example, you know, the lady who called up his cell phone provider and, you know, basically just went onto YouTube and got baby crying voice, you know, noises, and then really tugged on her heartstrings on the other end. You know, and we have an inherent, you know, as humans, we have an inherent will to want to help each other. You know, we have that compassion. And a lot of times these fraudsters will use that to their advantage. So, again, a lot of emotional and manipulation. AI-driven phishing attacks, AI-powered business email compromise attacks made up 58% of phishing attempts, with manufacturers increasing targeted by email threats. Generative AI enables sophisticated attacks. Threats are increasingly using generative AI to craft more convincing business email compromise emails and other content. An estimated 40% of business email compromise phishing emails were AI generated in 2024, and the technology is also used to advance impersonation techniques like deepfakes. You know, and it's really concerning. You know, there's nothing stopping somebody from calling all of my clients in my voice with an AI representative saying, "Hey, there's something wrong with your mortgage. You need to give us this information." I apologize for that. I have a few calls coming in, and well, we'll just have to deal with the little chime here for a second. Let me see if I can get rid of this. There we go. Okay. So it is becoming more sophisticated. And again, there's nothing stopping the AI generation from calling all of my clients in my voice saying, "Hey, do this," or "There's going to be something wrong with your mortgage," or something like that. So that's the kind of technology that we're really dealing with right now is, you know, the voice recognition, the AI representatives, and some of them are so realistic, they sound like a real person. I mean, a lot of us can tell, you know, that this is an AI, but some of us can't. And what if you are an older adult or something like that who has some impairments that may not be able to identify these things? So it's definitely something we need to be cognizant of. And that's really how these fraudsters prevail in this industry is lack of awareness, is people not paying attention and us not making it a priority to put ourselves in a position to not become victims. So attack techniques, again, impersonation. Roughly 89% of business email compromise attacks impersonate authority figures such as CEO, executives, to exploit authorities and bias pressure from victims, or they impersonate the title company. Or how about they impersonate you? You know, they have somebody call up in your voice. "Hey, something's wrong with the transaction. You have to do this right now, or you're going to lose the house and lose everything." They create this sense of urgency, and then all of a sudden your clients are, "Oh my gosh," you know. So we have to really be vigilant. Vendor compromise, over 60% of business email compromise scams in 2024 and 2025 targeted trusted vendors or partners, a tactic known as vendor email compromise. These attacks surged by 66% during the first half of 2024. Gift card scams, of course, I think they've gotten a good handle on these, but they were very common at one point. So real estate fraud takes many forms, escalating risk. Mortgage application fraud risk has increased 6.1% year over year from 2025 from 2024. The attacks are becoming more sophisticated. Scammers, again, are becoming more advanced using AI, deepfakes, and voice spoofing to impersonate real estate professionals, lenders, and title companies, according to Certified ID. And targeted sectors, the Federal Trade Commission reported a 25% jump in fraud losses in 2024, with investment scams leading the increase. So I'm just going to take a quick peek at the chat here. To make sure that we don't have, if you have questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat and I'll make sure to keep a good eye on it. Will we be getting the presentation? Yes. If at the end when you send in your attestation, just say, "Hey, send me the slide deck," and I'll make sure to get it out to you. Freeze credit on all three sites or okay, just you want to do it on all three. A lot of times they will also do the other two, but I would do it on all three. Do it on all three. Yeah, thanks, Caitlin. You answered the question there. I had a realtor who experienced a gift card scam oh wow, okay, just a few months ago. Bought a bunch of gift cards because he thought oh wow, okay, yeah. So that's definitely something that we should all know about. I don't know if you guys saw the chat. So it sounds like, the gift card scam, because we want to give back to our clients and, it's, buy a gift card, all that stuff. And, oh, let's buy them in bulk. I buy all my, Starbucks cards in bulk, because they throw them in a, thank you card or whatever. So if it's not an actual gift card place, I mean, it's definitely something we could look at. Should we lock or freeze? I think the same thing. Same thing. How do we get our voice? How do they get? Oh, uh, it's actually quite sinister how they get our voice. How many of us post on Instagram? How many of us do any type of videos? They can capture that audio and then the AI will generate a voice that's very similar to ours. So that's how they could capture our voice. Again, it's all part of us putting ourselves out there. Hey, look at me, everybody. I'm your local friendly mortgage guy. Call me for pre-approvals. We have to put ourselves out there. Does the voice fraud work with accents? I'm sure it could. I don't know. I'm sure it could, though. Uh, Thank you again, Caitlin. Beyond three main credit bureaus, don't forget the check systems. Scams opening a checking account in your name or business name and passing bad checks. Great ad, Mark. That's something you should also look at as well. You don't want people opening up, accounts in your name, unless they're going to start sending you money. I doubt that's their intention. So, if you guys are bored, you could go to mortgagefraudblog.com. This is a running blog of people who are basically getting convicted for real estate fraud. So I won't go into it now, but if you go to mortgagefraudblog.com, basically you'll be surprised at how recent and how prevalent fraud is in our industry. And there's several examples of that coming up. So, do you think LifeLock Identity is worth it? So, LifeLock basically will monitor your credit. That it's not the same as freezing the credit, and and I know that they offer different services. I mean, I don't think it hurts. I think that we should be vigilant and take action and take responsibility for our own safety when it comes to our internet presence and our identity and things like that. So I'm sure it doesn't hurt. Let's put it that way. This is why I do not say my name when answering the phone. I just say hello. Someone could be recording you, pronouncing your name. Yeah, I've heard that as well. You know, when you answer the phone, it's free to freeze. Okay, thanks, Mark. I just locked through my LifeLock. Thank you. Okay, awesome. We got overachiever there, Vicky. You're very efficient, very efficient. So let's go back into it. So, social engineering is the use of deceptive or manipulative individuals into divulging confidential or personal information that may be used for fraudulent purposes. So, again, you know, going back to the lady in the video that basically, you know, used manipulating tactics to uh, tap into that inherent desire to serve and help people so that she could get the information that she needed so that you know she could create some sort of fraud. So social engineering is a huge component of this. Why? Because it's reliable. Human nature is reliable, and you know those folks know that you know, and I think we've learned a lot about human nature over the last I don't know 6 years. Something that fascinates me, but that is why it works is because it's reliable. You always know somebody is going to be um, uh, susceptible to those type of attacks. Um, let's see. Can you freeze your LLC name? I'm sure you can. Yeah, I'm sure you can. Spoofing. So spoofing is email information is masked in an attempt to trick recipients into believing the message came from someone else. So basically, like this is an example, LinkedIn email. Click here, but if you hover over that link, it says reformmade.comunidades.com, rumors.php. That is not LinkedIn. So if you again, you want to hover over all these links before you click them. So this is an email that's sent out to somebody that's basically looked to be like a LinkedIn email, but it is not a LinkedIn email. It's just made to look that way. So you click it and download their software on your computer. Phishing. An attacker recreates the website or support portal of a renowned company and sends a link to target via emails or social media platforms. So again, you know, you get an email like this or a text message or something like that. Hey, we're sorry to say goodbye. Wait a minute. I didn't cancel my membership. I got to watch these shows on Netflix. So you click the restart membership and boom, you're redirected to their site or you're getting information downloaded onto your device. Spear phishing is basically the same thing, but more centrally uh, basically a central attack, basically. Email or electronic communication scam targeted towards specific individual, organization, or business. Hi, Joe, are you in the office? Kindly let me know because I need you to send out an important payment for me today. Well, if you're a new employee and oh, Mary, the CEO, just sent you an email saying, "Hey, I need this done right away." Well, you know, if you're the what do they call new people, the FNGs, then you know you're going to look at that and you're going to say, "Hey, oh, I better get this done right away." You know, I don't want to make a mistake, and it could be someone who's not even just impersonating that person. Says, looks like Cookie, you got I keep getting email messages, note to myself from me to me, asking me to sign a DocuSign doc. I just delete them, but can't block them since they come from me. That sounds like a existential question. You're getting information from yourself. No, I'm not trying to make light of it, but yes, I have too received that as well. You know, I would call whoever your email provider is and see if you can get to the bottom of that. But I've seen that before as well. You can hover a link on your. Can you hover over a link on your cell phone? Ooh, good question. I don't know. Can you? Does anybody else know? I don't know if you can or not. I know cell phones are a little bit more secure because of just the way they're designed. They're not designed to, you know, go deep into sites and stuff like that. So that might be something that might be a question we can table. Great question, though. Anytime an email says kindly, you know it's a scam. Well, I gotta stop, you know, signing my emails. Thank you kindly. So, but that might be, hey, there might be something to it. Here's a phishing example of email that I received, Zachary Smith. I received an email from this is years ago, from this person at a different title company, and it's got her picture, her name, it's got her phone number. Oh wow, it must be official, right? Okay. What is her name? Kim Thomason. I don't know if Kim Thomason's real or not. This is years ago. Kim Thompson. But if you look at the email, john.rornito@gmail. That's a bit of a mismatch there, if you ask me. But they basically send these out, to try to get me to click on stuff. This stuff is always so scary to me. What people can do and the info they find is crazy. Yes, and we don't mean to scare you too much, and we're not going to leave you twisting in the wind. So towards the end of the class, we're going to find ways that we all can band together and work towards taking our responsibility for our own safety when it comes to our internet presence and give you some tools that you can work with. Clone phishing, previously sent legitimate email is resent to a recipient, however, with malicious attachment links. So they send you something out, want you to click on it, just like phishing somewhat. Farming, an attack intended to redirect a website's traffic to another bogus site. So they will create a site that is an exact replica of the site that you are frequenting or whatnot. But as you can see, there are ways on the web that you can see if it's an official site or not. You always want to look for that little lock there. If it's just that, then it could be anybody. Let's see. So, vishing is a tactic in which individuals are tricked into revealing critical financial or personal information to unauthorized entities. Can be used in conjunction with spear phishing or for greater effectiveness. So, this is basically the walkthrough. An employee of a small business receives a suspicious email with an attachment and does not open it. Now, again, going back to the statistics that we talked about, it's not always yourself or your organization that's getting hacked. It could be vendors that you're using. It could be the plumber that you're using, or the electrician, or the home inspector. It could be them that's getting hacked. So later, the employee receives a phone call, and the hacker pretends to be a vendor or supplier and references the email. So let's say you're working with a plumber, and you have a sewer line scope that you're getting done, and they send you an email with an invoice or something saying, "Hey, did you get our email? We did the sewer scope and everything," because they're monitoring the emails. They're sitting back in the background monitoring your email or monitoring their email, and they know that you got business going on with each other. Hey, did you get that email we sent you over for that sewer scope that we did on Tuesday? Oh, yeah, yeah, I got it right here. So they click on the link. The invoice is right here. They click on the link. The employee opens the attachment, unknowingly allows the malware to install itself. So the employee then logs into the bank account of the business to pay the invoice or whatever. And then that is all being monitored by the hacker. And then next thing you know, they got your username, password, and all that stuff. So, smishing is, gotta love these names, right? Uses mobile phone text messaging, SMS, to trick victims into taking an immediate action. So, hello, your PayPal, and this is becoming very, very common. I mean, things are moving to mass SMS and things like that. And it's just, I know we're all getting these SMS from random people. Hey, what are you doing for lunch today? And then you try to call them and the phone doesn't work. Who are you and are you a real person? Right away to blocked. But hello, PayPal account was compromised. But again, they're just trying to fish. They're trying to get somebody to bite. Milos has a question. Are Macs better than Windows in protecting these installations? I don't know for sure. I don't know. I'm a Mac nerd. So I just use Mac because I like them better. But I don't know if they're better. I've heard that they're better, but that's not an official answer. Don't hold that to me. That won't hold up in a court of law, I don't think. So let's see, Lewis. One thing that has been getting big nowadays is through Zoom as well. Interesting. I've had emails from people or supposedly other agents saying that they are interested in my listing and send me a link to access Zoom and talk about my listing more. And I never press it since since I don't trust it. So I tell them they're not working and send as, oh, okay, that's good. That's good. That's interesting. This is great information for all of us to know. Yes, I've been getting them daily for a couple weeks now, or Google Meet. Yes, I get these. Look how prevalent this is. I mean, I always ask for phone number. Yes, DMAR shared this is a hack. What's up with the text messages that just say hi, hello, or do you want to have dinner tonight? Yes, I think we're all getting those. We all must be so popular. Everybody's asking us out for lunch and dinner and all that stuff. I always call those people, and if you can't call me, or if I don't have your number, or if you don't identify yourself as someone that I have business with, and we're all, not all of us, but some of us are definitely entering the foray of the mass SMS, sending out, emails and stuff like that. It's just part of our business model. So it's always good to verify. You can always call the person directly, not from the email. Like if people are getting emails impersonating title companies, well, make sure that they call the title company directly and, hey, is this you? So not responding to anything on the communication is probably good practice. Um, Yes, report right directly to spam, directly to jail, right to spam and block. Business email compromise, scam targeting businesses that regularly perform wire transfer payments. Do we work with any companies that regularly send out wires? Uh, Cyber criminal poses as a company executive and emails the finance person. The finance sends the funds to cyber criminal's account. Cyber criminal receives the money. It's pretty simple. So, as you know, wire. I'm sure you guys have been in classes about wire fraud, and the title companies are really, really, good at about creating that awareness and the education behind that. But it's a huge deal, because if someone falls victim to that, a lot of times there's nothing we can do about it, because it's an offshore account, so it's outside the jurisdiction of the United States, which puts them in a position where there's nothing you can do. I mean, it is what it is. You sent the money and it's gone. Yeah, so the downside is pretty tragic for wire fraud. So we can't talk enough about it, to be honest with you. Email account compromise continued. It's similar to business email compromise, but it's just to a regular everyday person, basically sending out fraudulent emails with links that we shouldn't be clicking on. How should we go back to certified fund check at closing? I don't know. Maybe we all line up with our pitchforks outside the title company and say, "Hey, we won certified checks." I don't know. I don't know. Your ideas are just as good or as bad as mine. So, why does BEC and EAC work? Well, again, we're human, and we are dealing with a lot of moving parts in these real estate transactions. So they create a sense of urgency. You got to do this right now, or you're going to lose the house and you're going to lose everything. I mean, if you have a buyer that is on pins and needles, and they're selling and moving, and all these things going on, and someone calls them and says, "Hey, you got to do this right now." Gosh, I mean, do you have time to sit back? Oh, wait a minute. This is my dream home. I don't want to lose it, So that's one of the reasons. Take advantage of the weakest link. Now, that's more involved with companies. That's why I always stress that every single managing broker needs to have all of their agents take this class or a class similar. We need to have this awareness so that you don't put yourself at risk. Distracted, overworked, disengaged employees, similarity in tone and wording, but with noticeable differences. So just, paying attention to the details. And it basically, these fraudsters are taking advantage of people's inherent natural ability to want to serve people and to be compassionate towards people. So they take advantage of that. And again, if I've learned anything, I don't want to throw everybody in this bucket, but if I've learned anything over the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, especially since COVID, human nature is pretty predictable. So I'll just leave it at that. Wire fraud. Mail fraud and wire fraud are federal crimes in the United States that involve mailing or electronically transmitting something associated with fraud. So agent, broker, seller, buyer receives a phishing email. So somebody in the transaction receives a phishing email. They click on it, and the criminal compromises the user email account. So they don't have to take any action. They just sit back and they're monitoring all the emails. So, for example, if somebody on the call here got hacked and you have deals going on with your email, they're just sitting back, kind of monitoring. Okay, because we have emails going back and forth for stuff. Criminal monitors the emails and reads all the users' emails, so they're well aware of all the transactions you got going on. You have no idea that they're on your email, but they're monitoring everything. They find the exact moment when you're getting close to closing or things are starting to come to a pinnacle and things are coming to an end. And that's when they strike. Banks and accounts are substituted for a mule account or usually offshore account. And the criminal collects the money, basically intercepting that wire based on the information they've gathered over the last few weeks of monitoring your email. We've got Brad here. I learned a long time ago that you should check your email settings often for forwarding rules. Your email can be hacked for a long period of time, and they are just waiting for a large amount of money being moved, and that's when they contact the sellers or buyers through your email accounts to change the wiring number. That's great information, Brad. I think some people aren't on guard because they think it can always be fixed if their money is stolen. Yeah, that's true. That's true. And wire fraud, it's pretty tragic because it's offshore. There's no jurisdiction there. Okay, so wire fraud, and we've all heard about it, but again, we can't talk about it enough. Nightmare scenario for any home buyer. The day before closing, a scammer manages to trick you into wiring your down payment to an offshore account. You lose the hard-earned money and you lose the house, and there's no way you can get either one back. Let's not have that happen to anybody that we work with. And the way we do that is through awareness and education. That's how some criminals have adapted the common business email compromise scam, so named because it's used and almost exclusively to target businesses to focus on individuals, especially people who are involved in pending real estate transactions. Why? Because there's a lot of money involved. CNBC spoke with two victims of this type of crime who wished to remain anonymous. They were devastated to lose six-figure sums, their dream homes, and in one case, the bulk of someone's life savings gone in a blink of an eye. The new thing is monthly unplug your router or about 1 minute and plug back in. Yeah, absolutely. Monthly unplug your router because we can collect on the cash and all that stuff. The other thing is turn your phone off once a week. That can help out quite a bit of not only to help it run, but to remove some of the cache or things that are being collected on our phones as we doom scroll and do whatever we're doing on our phones. So you want to turn your phone off at least once a week. It's a crime that's growing, according to Ryan Callenber, Senior Vice President of Cybersecurity Strategy for email security company Proofpoint, which tracks cybercrimes perpetrated over email. Callenber has observed attempts at this type of crime have risen to a level 14 times higher than last year. The Federal Bureau of Investigation has also warned several times that this year the email compromise schemes are spiking, which includes this type of real estate fraud. Let's see. If the wire instructions, okay, we got a few. If wire instructions include Swift code, yes, that is correct. And we're going to go over that. That is a great add to the class here. Having a VPN helps. Yes, it does help. Especially if you're out and about, on vacation and you hop onto the hotel Wi-Fi for a second, you want to make sure you're on a VPN. So yes, it does help. It's called Hope Questioning Not Do. Okay, I stand corrected. Sorry about that. So wire fraud continued. Basically, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail and read all of this out, but I mean, we're all aware of how it works and the devastating effects it can have on someone's life. So let's not have it happen. If you again, we're going to go over ways to prevent this type of thing, but the best way that we can prevent this thing is by being proactive, and having that awareness um, is really where we're going to prevent these type of things. Fraud for housing. So we're going to shift gears a little bit and go into a different type of fraud. Um, Yes, we'll go over some of that, Kim, here in a little bit. I think we'll go over that. We're going to be kind of shifting gears to go into more mortgage fraud, fraud for housing, things like that. So, fraud for housing, mortgage fraud. So, mortgage fraud occurs when someone deliberately falsifies information to obtain mortgage financing that would not have been granted otherwise. So, this may include misstating your position or inflating your income or length of service at your job, stating that you're salaried, full-time employee when you're not a contract, part-time, hourly, or commission-based, self-employed. And of course, those of us lenders, who've been in the industry for a while, the last thing I want is a sleepless night. I don't want any sleepless nights. I'm not in it for that. So, doing our due diligence up front and making sure that the people we pre-qualify are actually pre-qualified, meaning that we've looked at their income, their assets, their credit, and making sure that everything they're telling us is the correct thing. Because sometimes buyers are, well, I'm not going to go there, but sometimes buyers can, and sometimes it's innocent, they don't know. And it can go the other way too. I've had buyers that say, oh, I make this much, and you get to pay stubs. I'm like, man, you make way more than you said you did. So we just want to make sure we do our due diligence. Misrepresenting the amount or source of your down payment, purchasing a rental property and misrepresenting it as owner occupied. That's a big one these days, especially with some of the DSCR loans and stuff like that. Those of you who are not familiar with DSCR, basically it's debt service loans, so you don't need any income. All you need to show up with a down payment and some reserves, and you're good to go. But the reason they're able to do those is because they're non-QM loans or non-qualified loans, so they're not really part of RESPA and things like that, which means they cannot be a primary residence. So you are not allowed to purchase a rental property and call it your primary residence. Just putting that out there. Not disclosing existing mortgage or mortgage debts. Maybe you have a seller carry or something like that that's not showing up on the credit. That's not cool. Misrepresenting property details or omitting information in order to inflate the property value. Oh, what crack in the foundation? I don't know what you're talking about. Adding co-borrowers who will not be living in the home and do not intend to take responsibility for the mortgage. We got a question here from Gene. What happens if a person misstates their income and the loan closes? Well, it should never, and I speak from experience. I've been doing this a while. I know the lenders that we work with, it's a very intense process when it comes to verifying people's income. Now, the times that it can go awry or something is a little fishy is with like small businesses where you don't have like an official HR person. You got the owner of the company who's, small 40-person, business or something like that. But that's a good question. I mean, after everything is said and done and the loan is funded, is there really recourse? There's always the due on sale clause or due on, if they find any, every single mortgage has that where, hey, if we find out something's fishy, we can just call the loan due. So that's essentially what would happen. It would be my assumption. But a lot of times in that situation, I mean, after closing and if they're paying the mortgage on time, I mean, who's really got the time to investigate? I mean, do you investigate everybody, So I would say in that situation, it would probably not go unnoticed. But from my experience, it would be very difficult for us to get past the underwriting aspect of a loan and not being very thorough about the way we verify income. And a lot of times we verify income through third parties. So we have a lot of ways to ensure that what people are giving us is, that's why on every single file, sign, the tax forms to get the transcripts. And I have a lot of clients say, well, hey, I just gave you my taxes. Why do you want them from the IRS now? Well, we want to make sure the taxes you gave us are the same ones you gave the government. So there's a lot of fail safes for that. So that would be highly unlikely that that would happen. Fraud for housing, straw buyer. Another common component of mortgage fraud is when someone with good credit is convinced to act as a straw buyer. Straw buyers are people who consent to the use of their names and personal details by companies or people who will obtain a mortgage loans but do not intend to live in the homes. Sometimes a straw buyer will be offered money for this favor or doesn't know that his or her name and information have been used on the loan application. So that's when it becomes really sinister if someone doesn't even know. Now, again, we have to verify everybody's identity and things like that. So it's highly unlikely, but has it happened before? Yes. Fraud for profit forgery. This is pretty straightforward. Forgery, also known as uttering a false instrument, is a serious offense punishable by felony in all 50 states and by federal government. Forgery involves making, altering, use, or possession of a false writing in order to commit a fraud. It can occur in many forms, from signing another person's name on a check to falsifying one's own academic transcript. When the subject is forgery is currency, it is also called counterfeiting. Fraud for profit identity theft. Identity theft happens when someone uses your social security number and or other personal information to open new accounts, make purchases, or get a tax refund. Most people who experience identity theft must take several steps to recover. I mean, I don't, all of us probably have known someone who's gotten really like bad identity theft where they get into your social and all kinds of stuff. So I don't know if this I'm assuming this website still is active, but the government at one point did put together. I know there's been a lot of changes in funding and stuff like that. But at one point, the government did have a website, identitytheft.gov, where you could go get resources if something like this happens to you, because it can get really bad. People have their bank accounts compromised and locked out of their own accounts. It's just not something anybody wants to go through. So again, there are resources though. Fraud for profit foreclosure rescue scam. Now, 3 or 4 years ago when I was teaching this class, probably wouldn't have been, big deal, because the market was booming. You had 40, 50 offers on every property. Boy, things have changed in the market, especially like in markets like Colorado Springs, where we're working on more short sales, seeing more and more of those. And just so everybody knows on the call, the reason that's happening in markets like that is the VA loan. VA loans are the best loan on the face of the planet, bar none, best interest rates, no mortgage insurance, 100% financing. But here's the catch. On most VA loans, unless you're considered over, I think it's 12% disabled by the VA, they have what's called a funding fee. Now, FHA has their upfront mortgage insurance premium, which is almost 2% of the property value. So whenever you have an FHA loan, you're paying quite a bit of money to FHA up front. And this becomes an issue with the reverse mortgage, because people look at the closing costs on the reverse mortgage. Gosh, this program's terrible. You're overcharging seniors. What are you doing? Shame on you, boo. But it's not a reverse mortgage thing. It's an FHA thing. FHA charges the same thing on a first-time home buyer or someone who's a year out of a bankruptcy or whatever. So FHA will charge that upfront mortgage insurance premium. VA has their own thing that's called a funding fee. So whenever we close 100% financing on a VA funding fee that is not waivable, again, if you're over 12% disabled by the VA, you need an official letter that says that. They'll waive it. But if it's not waived, it can be as high as 3.3%. So what does that mean? That means that when we do 100% financing on a home, it's actually VA is on the hook for 103.3%. So you're actually financing 103%. Well, 3% of 500 grand's, another $15,000 that they're putting on the home balance. So when the market slows down, that 15,000 is just kind of hanging out there. So that's why we're running into some of those short sales right now in Colorado Springs and areas like that. So again, this is going to become more prevalent. So because of the market and the way the shifts are going and things like that. Foreclosure rescue scheme is a scam that targets those whose house is facing potential foreclosure. The scheme preys on desperate homeowners whose mortgages are in default by offering to prevent the foreclosure. So I heard Becca mention that she was in a foreclosure office previously. I didn't know that actually. I just learned something new today. I as well was in a loss mitigation department at Chase Bank for several years. And the thing about foreclosure is that, you know, if you go late for a month or 2 months or 3 months, you can still make that mortgage payment and you're good. But once you get into the foreclosure process, it's the bank switch changes their tune. And what that means is that you're over 90 days delinquent on your mortgage. Once you become 90 days delinquent, now you got to deal with the attorneys. The bank no longer wants to hear from you. They're done trying to work things out with you. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't work things out, but it means that that process is now handled by the attorneys. So they don't want, you know, 1 month or 2 months. They want all 3 months up front to take it out of that process. So a pretty dire situation for people who are already struggling. They are down three payments on their house. They have, you know, this 3 months of payments that they have to come up with, you know, and how are they going to do that? So you have these people come along and say, hey, it sounds like you're in foreclosure. You know, that list is public, you know, it goes out to everybody. So readily available to be approached by some of these folks. Sounds like you've fallen on hard times. Well, you know what? I'm an expert at foreclosure negotiation. Go ahead and write me out a check for you know, $1,500 or $2,000, and we'll take care of everything. No problem. So what do these folks do? Their alternative is that they have to come up with those three payments. If your mortgage payment's $4,000, I mean, then you're talking 12 grand, and you got somebody knocking at your door saying, "Hey, give us 2 grand and we'll take care of it for you." Well, a lot of these people are okay. Let's do this. So you give the guy the guy or gal $2,000, and next thing you know, you can't hear from them. So that's what this scam is the foreclosure rescue scam, where they're coming in offering this lifeline, and really they're just trying to get money out of someone who's already down. And again, a lot of these scams are going to prey off of people's instincts. And when you're in trouble and someone hands you a lifeline, says, "Hey, I can help you out," you know, you may just take the risk and say, "I don't know what else to do. Help me, please." And next thing you know, you don't hear from them. Fraud for profit, short sale fraud. Short sale fraud, and again, we might be seeing this a little bit more. Short sale fraud involves using false or misleading information or withholding information to either induce a homeowner to conduct a short sale or to defraud the lender of money owed under the mortgage. So basically using false or misleading information to the bank so that you can sell it as a short sale. Again, pretty difficult to pull off because the banks are pretty thorough. Fraud for profit, short sale fraud continued. Undisclosed payments. When there are multiple loans attached to one property, a short sale cannot occur without all creditors agreeing to the sale. Moreover, the proceeds of the sale are paid to the creditors according to priority. As a result, the junior creditors are likely to get little or nothing from the sale. So to get the agreement of the junior creditors, the primary lender may arrange some extra compensation for the junior creditors. However, any extra disbursement must be disclosed to all creditors. The primary lender cannot use undisclosed or off-the-record payments to induce a junior creditor to agree to a short sale. In such case, the primary lender would be guilty of criminal fraud. So again, that's not something that clients will be doing. This is more of a bank thing. Like if you got a seller carry or something like that, and the seller carry is like, "Hey, let me pay you this much, and we won't tell KeyBank about their HELOC that they got on the loan, so we can get this thing going." So that's what that looks like. Fraud for profit, short sale fraud, continued flopping occurs when a short sale is induced by misrepresentation of the value of the mortgage property. The homeowner and lender are convinced by a third party, usually the buyer, that the property is worth far less than fair market value. The buyer then purchases the property for a lower value and immediately resells the property for its actual market value. So, really fine line between flopping and flipping. Flopping is frowned upon. Flipping is a different scenario. It's fun to say though, right? Fraud for profit, short sale fraud, predatory short sale fraud. In predatory short sale fraud schemes, there's usually an individual who's offering their services as a quote unquote short sale negotiator. The negotiator will offer to sell the property for the owner and request a flat fee or a percentage of the sale price. When the negotiator collects the fee up front and disappears without rendering services. So same exact thing as the foreclosure rescue scheme, except this is a short sale scheme. Basically, same thing, preying on folks who want to get out of the mortgage or get out of trying to get things put together. I have a question here. Let's see here. What happens if a person mistakes their income? Oh, no, we already got that. Will there be a break? Mark, there's no breaks. If you take your own break, though, if you need to go to the bathroom or something, just go for it. But we're gonna power right through, my friend. We're going right through. We're gonna commit to this. Fraud for profit, short sale fraud, non-arm's length transactions. Basically, sometimes homeowners will attempt to short sell their property to a friend or relative and then buy the house back for much less than the mortgage. Usually, this is done when the homeowners are convinced that their property value will recover. However, such an action would constitute fraud unless the facts of the transaction are disclosed with the lender. Fraud for profit loan stacking. This is almost impossible to do, but it's happened, so it is out there. Loan stacking is basically when you close a bunch of loans at the same time at different. So let's say I have a property and I'm taking 200 grand out of the property. So I go over to Chase Bank and get a loan for 200 grand. I go over to Key Bank and get a loan for 200 grand. I go over to who's it now? It's not First Bank anymore. It's PNC. I think I'm telling you, I knew this stuff was going to happen with some of these smaller banks. They were getting real aggressive when the rates went up and putting everything on their portfolios. I think they got a little over leverage, but PNC or whatever they're called now, um, they talked to all three of the banks at the same time, all three different title companies, and they fund all the loans. You go in the morning, you go to one title company, collect your 200. In the afternoon, you go to another title company. At lunch, you go to another title company and collect $600,000 on a $200,000 note that you're trying. And because there hasn't been time to record everything, you're basically taking all those notes out without any of the other banks or anybody else knowing what's going on. So you're trying to fund the same loan three times on the same property. Now, if you're leaving the country afterwards, probably the only way you could get away with it. But that's what loan stacking is when people try to fund different loans on the same property. Fraud for profit, earnest money scams. I know that you guys have probably heard about these. An agent claims to have a listing for a short sale, probate, or other distressed property, but the property cannot be shown. After acceptance of an offer, the buyer makes an initial deposit, 5 to 10,000 range, into the listing broker's non-independent broker escrow. As with most short sale or probate properties, the process can take several months, and the buyer's agent is assured that the listing agent is working towards lender approval and is taking more time. Then the communication slows. The selling agent begins to get concerned and calls the listing broker's escrow. There's no answer, no return call, no other number to contact, and the earnest money deposit is gone. So basically, and this happens, like here's a snippet just from 2019, lose 40 grand in an earnest money deposit scam where someone is representing to be a listing agent for a property that they don't own, that they're not rightfully the listing agent on. They approach these buyers, a beautiful piece of land, they can picture it, getting their dream home built or whatever. So they put down their earnest money, and the next thing you know, you can't get a hold of the listing agent anymore. And it's because they're gone. They're in Cancun. So that's earnest money deposit scams. Fraud for profit cybercrime. So this is shifting gears a little bit here. This is more of what we were talking about earlier. Offenses that are committed against individuals or groups of individuals with a criminal motive to intentionally harm the reputation of the victim or cause physical or mental harm or loss to the victim directly or indirectly using modern telecommunication networks such as the internet networks including chat rooms, emails, notice boards, and groups, and mobile phones. And we went over a lot of that stuff earlier in the presentation. So we've talked a lot about all the stuff that can happen with fraud, why we're targets, all that stuff. So how can we be proactive? How can we really take the reins and say, you know what? Not today. We're going to be vigilant. We're going to put practices in our business and our habits so that we don't become victims of this type of crime. So, tips to prevent real estate fraud, and these are the NAR suggestions. Build a standard warning about wire scams and avoid sending sensitive information over email. Never, ever, ever send stuff over email. And I always tell my clients this when we start off, God forbid, I get hacked or they get hacked. We don't want people's social security numbers and birth dates and past addresses and all their dirty laundry out on our email. We don't want any of that. So always use a secure site. We use a Dropbox account that is Dropbox. I'm going to knock on wood here, but they've been around for forever, and their thing is they've never been hacked ever. So, and it's because of the way they set up their folders. Each folder has its own unique identifier, and it's to hack into Dropbox would be a nightmare because you don't know which folder has sensitive information, which one doesn't. So, and then you're having to hack into each individual folder, which makes it a nightmare for a hacker, anyways. At the beginning of every transaction, tell your clients what your preferred communication processes are and practices are. So that's very important. Shakespeare says that the root of all heartache is expectation. So set good expectations with your clients up front. I will never call you with wiring instructions. I will never do this. I will never do that. This is what I will do. So make it very clear about how you are going to communicate and really paint the picture of how the process is going to go. I found over the years that going through that process only takes a couple minutes to talk to your clients. Okay, this is what's going to happen in the next 21 days. We're going to take your application. We're going to ask you for a bunch of documentation. We're going to ask you to send it in to us securely. We're going to submit it to underwriting. We're going to order your appraisal. You're going to do an inspection and just kind of walk them through the process and also emphasize how you are going to communicate with them and how you expect them to communicate with you. So that's also very important. So everybody's on the same page and they're not getting weird text messages from people. Hey, so just know that. If you or your agents do engage in wire transfers with a client, call them on the phone immediately prior to the transfer of funds so that they are sending the money to a legitimate source, but also encourage them to reach out to the title company directly. Look them up on Google. Don't, use the email. Look them up independently, third party. And I always completely stay out of that process. And honestly, I think that would be a good practice for everyone. Let the title company and the borrower have direct communication so that the correct information is put in. I know some of us are control freaks. We're helicopter agents or helicopter mortgage people, where we want to make sure that everything's going fine. And it's more about control, let's be honest. We're control freaks. So, but make sure that they establish that communication with directly with the title company, and have the title company implement their business processes to ensure that we have a safe transaction for all of our clients. Always use strong passwords and change them regularly, and encourage your clients to do the same thing. Oh boy, don't we just love passwords? We just love them. I mean, I'm probably up to 200 passwords now. But it's a necessary thing that we need. We go into a lot of systems. I use a lot of systems for my business, and I need to have different password for each one. So the thing about passwords is the amount of characters is way more important than the actual characters themselves. So you could have a very intricate, eight character password, but if you were literally just to put ones for and do 15 characters, it's actually safer to do just one 15 times than it would be to have a very intricate 8 character password. Because a lot of these password breaking software and stuff like that, the longer the password, the harder it is for them to break into it. So just remember that the more characters, the better when it comes to passwords. It's not so much the what you have in there. You could just do password like 3 times. Password, password, password. Um, Brokers should consider employing as staff person who is responsible for monitoring, updating, and implementing information security systems and procedures at your company. Very important if you do have a large office that you manage or that you're working with. Always have somebody that is in charge of this and who's keeping a good eye on it. Better yet, hire, and this is something that many of these cybersecurity companies will offer, and is basically have them do an assessment. And I know a lot of us, sometimes we're, a little bit of ego involved. Oh no, I'm safe. I got it all covered. I got my McAfee, virus protector. Oh, I'm good. I know what I'm doing. Have someone else look at it, you know, but have someone else give you a third party assessment, and let them tell you if you're okay or not, because these guys work on this every day, all day. Talk to a professional. They can help you develop a game plan, saying, okay, well, yeah, you're good, but we saw some weaknesses here, here, and here. And be vulnerable to that. Let them dictate to you what is going to be best practices. It's really the responsible thing to do for your clients and for yourself. So, tips continued to prevent real estate fraud. Educate all team members. I can't stress this enough. Most of the business email compromise and hacking that occurs is preventable. It's usually from our own actions that are creating these situations. We click on the wrong link. We're moving too fast. We get manipulated by someone with a crying baby voice, whatever. So educate all team members. Awareness is such an incredible thing. So make sure that everybody is aware, especially managing brokers on the call. Just ensure that all of your agents or anybody that you employ is aware of what is going on, and make sure that they're very careful about how they're operating on a daily basis from top to bottom. Utilize appropriate notarization procedures, of course. Traveling notaries and stuff like that's pretty common, so that's more of a title thing. Verify identities of parties. So, of course, that goes without saying, but make sure people are who they say they are. Some of us have a hard time with that because we don't look like our license picture anymore. It's like, are you sure that's you? Yeah, it's me. Prove it. So screen your staff. So make sure that You screen your staff and don't hire, anybody off the street. Do some background checks and do your due diligence. Encryption and email security. If we want to make sure that you have encryption on your emails, have email security in place. And a lot of companies offer that service, or even software, is pretty prevalent these days with that kind of thing. Computer equipment and flash drives. Gosh, does anybody use flash drives anymore? I don't know. It's kind of a dead technology, with all the cloud stuff these days. But you want to make sure that, your computer equipment is, especially when it comes to Wi-Fi and things like that. If you have a private Wi-Fi and you're just handing out that password to everybody, you have clients that come in, oh yeah, yeah, I can get you this. What's your Wi-Fi password? Just be mindful of that, because if the wrong person gets your Wi-Fi, or if someone hacks into your Wi-Fi, you don't even know about it. They could just be sitting at the coffee shop next door monitoring everything and just waiting for the right moment to pounce. Professional office review. Again, I had one done, I try to get one done every year, where we're basically, where are our weaknesses? What are we not doing that we should be doing? And it's not my opinion, it's someone else's third party independent review. And the last one, last but not least, is common sense. Now, that's one of the things that is sometimes in short supply, So, and we're all in that boat together, All of us need to just implement. Hey, should I really be trying to go to lunch with someone I don't know, and it's texting me, what are you doing for lunch? Oh, well, I don't know. Let's go to lunch. No, no, let's use some common sense. Tips to avoid real estate fraud continued. To decrease the odds of being victimized by hackers, industry insiders suggest the following. Don't email financial information. So again, someone's asking for proof of funds. Don't email it. Do some sort of, or have them encrypt it, or send it in a way that is going to be encrypted. Don't email. Yeah, we just did that one. Be cautious about opening attachments and downloading files from emails, such as files can contain malware that weakens a computer's security. So yeah, just be mindful of attachments on emails and make sure it's coming from a legitimate source. Before giving financial information on the web, ensure that the site is secure by looking for a URL that begins with HTTPS. So you want to make sure that it's an actual website. It's got the little lock up there and all of that. Should we send pre-approvals, proof of funds should we pre-send, um, will there be a break? Okay. So Marina, sorry, I'm just checking the chat here. 1password.com. Is that I'm assuming that's a site where they can keep all your passwords and everything. Um, Yes. Okay. So I'm always a little nervous about that stuff. Although I'm sure it's secure. I'm sure it's a great place to put all the passwords and everything. But if you remember on the video, that guy got access to his keychain, which is actually the same thing. It's you put all your passwords, very secure. But if someone really gets their teeth into your situation, they could get access to that. And of course, there's ways to, biometrics that are probably going to, avoid that. I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I'm just saying that this stuff makes me nervous. Because if you store all your passwords in one place, I mean, again, I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I'm just saying that, I'm a worry person and I worry about that stuff. And suggest passwords when you need to change. Okay. Should we send pre-approval proof of funds with offers? Yeah, yeah, absolutely. The pre-approvals are designed. I know that the way I design them is without any personal information. They have the name, which they already have on the contract. They have the amount they're putting down, interest rate, all that stuff, my information. So it shouldn't have pre-approval should not have any personal information. Now, proof of funds is going to have their account number. So you might want to just go in and maybe take that out, scratch through it or something like that. But make it so it's not legible as far as the account number and maybe their address, stuff like that, any personal information. So just got this text a minute ago, first time for this one. R.A. Jones with Jones and Partners Legal. Your contact details are linked to a digital scam occurrence. Our review indicates your contact details are associated with this matter. To proceed with a formal review, request your full legal name and financial figures. That sounds pretty official, Alyssa. That sounds pretty. Oh my gosh. I mean, just here on the call, we're getting stuff. Zach, my IT tech recommended this for our company. You just have to remember one password for everything, and it's very secure. Okay, gotcha. Gotcha. Onepassword.com. Okay, I'll have to look into it. I mean, it's sounds good, sounds good. I have all my passwords in a Google Sheet. Maybe not a good idea. I keep mine on a napkin, so I think you'll be okay. Uh, just kidding. You know, I don't know that I'd keep it on if you do have it on a Google Sheet, just password protect it, make sure it's protected. I just got a text scam about withdrawal from Robinhood, a one-time code. Oh gosh. I mean, we hang out for another 5 minutes, we'll all have a text from somebody, our long lost uncle or something like that. But where it really gets sinister is with the older adult communities. I do a lot of reverse mortgages. That is our bread and butter. That's what we do mostly here at Chariot Financial. And I worry about this stuff, because I've heard all kinds of stories. People, some of my older adult clients will get a call, Grandma, it's me. I need your help right now, right now. And it's like, oh my gosh, like I'm in jail. I need you to send me money or whatever, So it's really, really prevalent with that age group. So just something to be aware of. Let's see. So be cautious about opening attachments before giving financial information on the web. Sure, it's legit. Avoid clicking email links to a website. Instead, look up the URL. Of course, you just don't want to click on every link you receive. And this came up earlier. Great advice. Be aware that any reference to a Swift wire is generally an offshore account. So just kind of keep that in mind. Again, tips to avoid being a real estate agent. Don't be a victim. Brokers should instruct closing agents not to disperse seller proceeds in a manner that diverges what was specifically authorized in a document signed by the seller. So again, we all have great title partners, especially those at First Integrity Title. They're the best. You want to make sure that all that is crystal clear. Float the computer mouse over a sender's email address and make sure that the information on the person's identity. Again, a lot of times if you float your cursor over an email or over a link, it'll show you where it's taking you. Becca, I was worried about my parents receiving a panicked call that sounds like me saying I'm kidnapped or need money. And I let them know that if that ever happened, and even if it sounds like my voice, that there would be a password they could ask me for, and it would be the garage code we grew up with. Oh, that's a great idea. That's a really good idea. Yeah. I think it's awesome you're talking to your parents about that. Just talking about it. It's the awareness. So great idea. Sham email addresses often appear nearly identical to legitimate ones. Some hackers will change a single digit or an email address so that messages are diverted to the fraudster. Examples include changing a lowercase letter I or to the number one, or replacing an M with an R and an N next to it. Again, use strong passwords. The amount of characters is more important than the characters themselves. Keep your operating system, browser, and security software up to date. That's pretty important. And I think we all know to, do the updates regularly because, people are always coming up ways to hack into systems and things like that. And the updates are designed to keep that from happening. Continued tips to avoid real estate fraud, IT hardening security stack. Again, cybersecurity companies are all over town. There's a bunch of them out there. And they can create the best way to keep your company and your clients secure. various layers of perimeter and their network security design to prevent data breaches and hacker exploits, endpoint monitoring to rapidly identify a security flaw breach and allow for immediate response and remediation. Okay, continued. Register all company domains that are slightly different than the actual company domain. I mean, that's really being thorough. But I know a lot of folks people, if you have, zachsmith.com, maybe I get .org, .biz, all those that are similar to my company name. Establish a company domain name, avoid free web-based accounts. So try to avoid using like the Gmails and the Yahoos. You definitely want to have like your own URL, if possible. And we all should. A lot of times with our email or with our website providers, they'll offer that as an added thing. Is there a recommended app to run on your mobile phone to find or remove malware? I'm sure I don't have a recommendation, but I'm sure that there's apps that are highly recommended that you can find on the App Store or things like that. Again, shutting your phone off and turning it back on can resolve a lot of issues and a lot of malware and stuff like that. Establish company domain. Two-factor authentication. I know it's all fun for us to do the two-factor these days, but it's for our protection. It's for our protection. And, they have a lot of great two-factor authentication sites out there now. And, I know Microsoft and Google, they all have their own these days, but you definitely want to do two-factor, especially for social media accounts. You don't want to get locked out of your social media. I know people have had that happen and they just give up. There's like, well, that's the old me. Now this is the new me, everybody. This is my new account. Let's see. On Android, it's part of the Google Play Store. Okay, great information. Malware Bytes is what I use. Okay, so Malware Bytes is a recommendation from Caitlin. Don't use hotel or public Wi-Fi. And if you do, use a VPN. Don't commingle personal assets with work. Use corporate VPN or personal VPN. Um, Set passcodes on mobile devices. Of course, I have actually locked my SIM card too. I don't know. I forgot how I did it. I looked it up one day, but I did it in case someone steals your phone. There's this whole thing about people stealing phones, and there's a way to hack into the phone and all that stuff. Well, if you put a password on your SIM card, then it makes it much more difficult for someone to like resell your phone or wipe the information off of it and all that. So, this is another added layer there. Let's see. Set passcodes on mobile devices, secure passwords. Tips to avoid real estate fraud continued. Misspelled emails. So a lot of this stuff is, again, going back to common sense, just slowing down. Double letters, lookalikes, vowel replace, grammar problems. I think someone mentioned if it says kindly, that's definitely a scam. Sense of urgency, similar but not the same emails. Foreign banks, weekend and holidays, email change and instructions, new beneficiaries. Oh, they have these, sense of urgency. Something's changed with the transaction. You got to send the wire right now or you're losing everything. And there's a new beneficiary we got to wire it to. That's the stuff that gets people in trouble. Let's see here. Hover over links, double check email addresses. Know the habits of your customers. That's a good one. If you have someone, like, we're all talking about millennial clients and stuff like that, how they don't answer the phone or they don't email. But if you text them, they get right back to you. So if all of a sudden they're calling you or emailing you a lot, maybe, hey, are you okay? Are you still on your meds? Like, is this you? Do not reply. Do not use reply option or forward. Type the email address of the recipient. Slow it down. Again, just slow down. Does it really have to go out now? We live in a world where it's all immediate. Everything immediate responses, and the result of that is, the increase in fatal crashes due to text messaging. So it can, does it have to be answered right now? Do you have to look at your phone right now in the middle of I-25 going 60 miles an hour? So just slow down. Let's all slow down a little bit. Assume email has already been compromised. If you assume that these things have already happened, then you're going to be much more secure with your interactions and with the information you send out. You can also turn on and off your sensors on Android. No one can use your mic and camera. Okay, that's great information. Again, tips for avoiding fraud, phishing prevention. Don't be so open on social media. Of course, all of us are becoming Instagram influencers now. That's where everybody's at. Be careful what you post on company websites, especially job duties, descriptions, hierarchical information, out of office details. Again, I know we got to be open and we got to tell people who we are, where we're at, but do we got to say everything? Everything about everything. So, keep some personal stuff to yourself. Know the habits of your customers again. And this is an interesting site. Have you been pawned? So this is have I been pwned.com. Click that in there. It'll have you input your, I think it'll do your phone number or your email address, and it'll tell you all the data breaches that have been associated with that number. Again, if you guys want the slide deck, just tell me in the email here at the end of the class, and I'll have information on that in just a moment. And I'll make sure to get the slide deck out to you so that you can have this information. But it's good information. I mean, sometimes maybe you don't want to know. Ignorance is bliss, right? Which is completely contradictory to what we're talking about here. So. Okay, that's all I got for you. Um, Again, my name is Zach Smith. I own Chariot Financial. Been doing this 23 years, and I'm happy to help. So this is what we're all waiting for, right? How to obtain your CE certificate. Everybody put their listening ears on right now, okay? Everybody pay attention. Everybody stop, do whatever you're doing. Put your coffee down. Everybody listen, because I want to there's 88 people on the call right now. It's just little old me sending out these certificates. So if anything deviates from the process that I'm about to dispose to you, it could impact your ability to get your certificate. So help me help you. So send an email to zach@zpsmith.com. That's Zulu Papa Smith, SMITH.com. Subject line should read FIR CERT, FIR, Fraud in Real Estate CERT. And the reason I'm asking you to use that nomenclature is so that I can sort this email out of the hundreds of emails that I get every day. So if you put that in the subject line, it will help me to get your email in the correct place so I can get you your certificate. Secondly, Dora is very strict about this for good reason. They want you to include an attestation, say, Zach Smith was sober online, paying attention the whole time. My camera was on. I was taking notes. I was, just basically something saying that you were here, you're present, and your camera was on during the entire class. And again, that's to protect you and to protect me in case we get audited by Dora and they come knocking on the door saying, hey, prove to us that you were at this class. Well, then I can pull up this attestation and say, well, hey, looks like I received this email from John right after class, 5 minutes after class. It's time stamped. It says that he was here. He's attesting. So please follow those two things. Mention the date of the class too, or we've got a timestamp. But if you do those two things, that will ensure that your certificate gets out to you in a timely manner. If you deviate from that process, it can create issues and it could create a delay in me getting you your certificate. So that's all I got for you. I'll be hanging out here. Feel free to give me a call or shoot me an email or just bark out questions you have right now. I'm very happy to help. I teach 6 classes, the reverse mortgage class, down payment assistance, this class, manufactured homes, Oh gosh, I'm working on some other stuff too. And also, if you have any requests for classes, I'm happy to, research those and get those put together. The renovation loans class has been pretty popular with folks. Those are great programs. We have an incredible group that we work with that gets those done for us. Let's see, what is the subject? Never mind. Can write your email, please. Yes, it's Zach, Zach, at zpsmith.com. It's right there on the screen. Send Zach an email. Thank you, Becca. Thank you. So that is very helpful. Just follow Becca's lead there. Just copy and paste right into your email.
Thank you so much, Zach. And I'll follow up with everyone and I will restate Zach's email so you will have it in multiple ways. But I do want to chime in and say thank you so much for this useful content and sharing it in such a organized fashion. And we will keep you posted when we get our next class scheduled with Zach. And thank you so much for joining us today. And feel free to stay on and ask Zach any more questions.
That's right. I'm open to any questions, completely vulnerable to any questions you have about politics, religion, astrology. You just bark your questions out. I'm happy to answer them. And the great thing about it is, if I don't know the answer, I'll just make something up.
And thanks for the kind feedback you're leaving in this chat box. We're thrilled to know that it was useful. And we'll look forward to seeing you guys hopefully soon again. Thank you, Zach. Have a great summer, everybody, if I don't see you in the next coming months.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Becca. We appreciate you.
Zach, how do you protect from deed theft?
From deed theft?
Yeah.
Well, so what you mean, people coming in saying that they were the rightful owners and things like that?
I'm not exactly sure. I mean, you see the ads, that
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, those are a lot. A lot of those are scams. A lot of those are just like, for instance, when people close on a home, they get a letter a couple days later. Hey, we'll give you $100 for your deed, for a copy of your certified deed, when the title company is going to give it to you for free. So the whole deed, and I've seen that before. Where you need to protect yourself, and it's really fear based.
I
You need to
think
protect
what
yourself from deed theft, and I don't even think it's
Well, if it's actually a matter of somebody filing a quitclaim deed to add themselves to title, that is a very possible thing. And the only way to protect yourself is occasionally to run an O&E with the title department, or check the county records. And so this product title lock that's being sold, it could be useful in a sense, but it's not going to prevent somebody from filing a quitclaim deed. It's only you're paying for somebody to be monitoring your records. That's it. So if title lock says, hey, somebody filed and added themselves to your title on public records because the public trustee didn't think it was fraud, then you have to hire an attorney. So it's better to be checking occasionally for your public records than I think it is for paying a subscription to Title Lock, where all they're going to do is be watching it as well. They're not preventing it. They're just keeping an eye on it for you.
And because it's so prevalent, more and more counties are actually offering an opportunity to do a lock, if you will, for lack of a better term, directly with the county. So if you go to sell it, you'd have to unlock it just like you would do with LifeLock. But it is more prevalent than people are actually realizing, and it's extremely prevalent with people who no mortgage is showing, since it's public records. If there's no mortgage, and or if it's in your single name, or it is public records. So if you file a quitclaim deed because the spouse passed away, whatever it is, and now it's only an elder person or something maybe who's the only one. So they are recommending to check with your counties and see if that county allows for or offers an opportunity to lock directly with the county.
I asked the clerk and recorder, and they said if somebody presents the document, their role is to record it, period.
Yep.
That's it. They don't do any checks or anything else. So I didn't know if there's another step the individuals could do.
some counties are offering a new service, and it's not a paid service. I guess it's just something you can do. I don't even think it's a monitoring service. I just think that nothing will be filed because something pops up on their screen.
That's incredible to me. I mean, that's just wow, I'm blown away because how can someone just add themselves to your title without any permission from the owner? I
It's
mean,
actually very easy, unfortunately, especially on raw land. And we get phone calls a lot to sell raw land, and
yeah,
they change their name on an ID, they want to
yeah.
do this. There's all sorts of things that
Oh,
unfortunately they're way ahead of all of us. So
wow. Well, let's get the word out. I mean, well, I would love to add the section of that to the class, you know? I mean, if it's something that you're seeing out there, boots on the ground, I mean,
yeah.
definitely should make people aware of it. I didn't realize it was such a big deal.
Zach, sometimes it is like caught by the public trustee's office. Like they're like
Mhm.
something about this isn't right, or they didn't have quite the right legal description to even
Mhm.
record it. But if it's legit enough, they will go ahead and record it. And then you have to, call them and say, like, that's fraud. And then they'll reevaluate. So either it is alerted as fraud and it's taken care of, but either way, it's you really can just record whatever and they'll just go ahead and record it. And so it is good to monitor your public
Yeah.
records in that way.
You know, that seems so backwards to me. You
Yeah.
would think that they would want to do the identifying work up front so that it doesn't happen. Instead, if it does happen, then you got to prove yourself, you know? It's
And maybe that'll change in the future. Like Kimberly was wonderfully adding the idea that they're
yeah.
like, we're aware this is happening now. So we're going to do something to say that, if you flag your file, we're not going to go ahead and record it. But I will say that is probably one of the most um, I get the phone calls the most on that concept of people saying, "Hey, I'm a realtor. My client is really nervous that somebody is going to add themselves to title and steal their property. What can they do?" That is
Yeah.
like the most common phone call that I get.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
I
Wow.
just Googled Douglas County, where I am, and they do have a reporting service. You just
Oh,
have to sign up for it.
you know what? We are gonna
And I never,
go
I
do
never
a
knew
deep
anything
dive on
about
that.
it. So thanks for
Yeah,
that info.
one of the large networks, I don't remember who it was, did an enormous documentary feature on deed theft. And so I'm sure you could probably find it online somewhere. But if I recall, a couple of years ago is the first time I heard, not heard, but had experience where something didn't seem right. So it's out there and it's happening, more prevalent in some areas, but there are certain individuals that are being more targeted. If the mortgage is on there, I guess they're not targeting if a mortgage is showing.
Okay, so it's more like people own free and clear.
Hmm. Yeah.
Well, we're gonna go down a rabbit hole. So thank you for that. I'm curious now.
I want to share something with my own